Sorry, I got distracted reading an Instagram post.
Oh,
I was like, oh my god, this is paragraphs long. Blah, 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 blah. Okay.
welcome to Castles and Cryptids, where the castles are haunted and the cryptids are cryptic AF. And today, the castles are haunted.
Oh, yeah.
Most
Soup
definitely.
haunted.
Yes, we are doing it. We are doing a castle episode.
Yeah.
Ask and you shall receive.
And soon we're doing a cryptid episode. So we're going to earn our own name.
There you go, Les and Res. There's your cryptids.
Yeah.
I know. We got to live up to our brand, or else people will just not know what to come to us for. True
Right.
crime, castles, cryptids. Well, we've got it all.
But
Oh, there's always that involved, whether it's the people that are haunting the castles. Yeah, always a little bit of murder. So
yeah.
I don't know. We
A
should probably
dash
put
of murder.
discretion on one of these, but I never do. I expect if we display as a true crime category, and people will know.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's always going to be a little bit of something, guys. You can always count on us for something cryptic or weird or at least gory. No.
Yeah.
So today you're going first. We just
Yeah.
randomly decide. We don't have any fancy fun way to decide who goes first.
No, we kind of go back and forth.
Yeah.
That's kind of the fancy way. just how we're feeling.
Right. Sounds good. Well, I'm ready for it. Your castle.
It is called Lap Castle, but it confused me the entire time I did my notes because it's spelled Leap, L-E-A-P. Because this is Ireland, it's Lep Castle. So that's what I'm going to be calling it.
Might have to do with the Gaelic. You never know.
Yeah. I wish I had an accent or a way I could read this entire case in an Irish accent, but I'm not able to do that, so I apologize.
A little bit of Irish. All right.
Yeah, just a big letdown. Sorry. Sorry, I'm not Irish enough or technically I think I am Irish and Scottish and everything, but I don't have an accent for you other than Canadian.
Mine would probably just eventually devolve into the Irish guy from The Simpsons. Oh, I don't think you ever get Simpsons references, damn you, but he's just, how does he go? Hang on. Everything he says just turns into, tiny little gnome-sized leprechaun in a few episodes, maybe. I don't know. He looks like an Irish guy. Well, that's a sports reference. Never mind.
Why do you even talk to me?
It's funny because you know how sometimes you'll be talking to someone and you kind of like, you speak to that audience. You're like, oh, they don't know that, so I won't make that reference. But then when we're doing a podcast, I'm like, well, maybe I should make a reference in case somebody else gets it.
Yeah, it'll go over my head, but somebody listening, it won't. And they'll enjoy it, I'm sure.
Well, yeah, our family watched a lot of The Simpsons, so I apologize. All right.
Come on, let me blow my nose.
Give me some time to blow the man down. Anyway.
That didn't really help. Okay.
It didn't really help? Go ahead.
No, because like nothing happened.
Poor thing. It always sounds like she's on coke. Sniff. Sniff.
Who does?
I said poor Kelsey.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
I got the nasal drip. No.
Isn't
that the grossest thing ever? Oh.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. I do want to say I may have heard of that castle because I have done, just tourism Ireland training, on a board moment at work as a travel agent. And I love learning about Ireland, Scotland. Oh my God, all the beautiful places that are expensive to go visit, but so lovely to look at.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah.
Sorry, now I'm just yawning. Oh, can't catch a break. Okay.
We're boring.
It's 4:12 in the afternoon, and we're just like,
Oh,
can't
God.
handle it.
She needs a nap. She's
Yeah.
got COVID routines.
Yeah. She worked 5 hours today. Oh, I'm so tired.
Oh, and today I didn't work, so now I'm like, woo, woo, woo.
Yeah, normally it's the opposite. Normally I'm like, woo, let's do this. And you're like, I worked all day.
Oh, go crack open that bottle of wine that it was bought for us. You could do it.
Oh my God, no, I work tomorrow. Or I don't work until 5 p.m. tomorrow. So,
I mean,
yeah,
I'm having a White Claw.
I'm having a ginger ale. I'm having the opposite of what you're having.
Hardcore.
Yeah. I'm having a carbonated drink while we attempt to record a podcast.
I know, me too. I'm definitely gonna have to pee in like 5 minutes. I also love that night classy pod. They'll be like, "Yep, pee break." And they just say it. I'm like, "Oh, awesome." So do I.
Yeah. All right.
Oh my God! I just got really good news.
What?
Oh, thank you, Anna. I'll message her back after. My friend Anna at work messaged me to tell me that I get to permanently stay at the doing the registries thing that I've been doing at the contact center.
Nice.
Because yeah, I'm happy. Like last week, they're like, "Oh yeah, not the building manager. Well, yeah, the contact center manager was like, "Yay, I'm excited to hear you want to stay here." Versus they were like, "Do you want to go back to travel?" Blah blah blah. And I was like, "No, no thanks." And
Yeah.
she's like, "I heard to do that," but she basically was like, "We have to still check the budget this week to make sure." It's really weird. We really haven't had any job security since COVID. Like, you know how it is when they're like, "You guys definitely have jobs for like 2 more months, but after that we'll see." And like they just kind of would be like, "We hope to never lay anyone off," but you were never really sure.
Yeah, but we won't hate it if you quit yourselves voluntarily.
Right. They were like encouraging you to use any time off. Anybody retiring soon? Oh, you want to quit? Oh, go ahead. We never treated you good anyway. Yeah, no, anyway, that's
Yeah, here's a good reference letter. Bye.
exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, exactly. I don't want to open that can of worms. I'm sorry. But yeah, it's like it's good and I've been waiting. She sent me a message last Monday, that manager saying like, I'll let you know within this next week once the budget numbers are here. Because they had started to tell some other people that they're being permanently staying here or whatever, not going back to their home offices. So yeah, my friend Anna just messaged me to tell me that me and her are staying there. And I was like, oh, thank you for letting, well, I'll message her after.
Nice. All right.
Yeah.
So my case. Yeah. Lapp Castle was built by the wealthy O'Bannon family somewhere between the late 15th century the late 12th century and the 15th century. From what I could find, most things said about 1250, but on Lapp Castle's website, it says the 1500s.
Okay, maybe that's when it was officially completed or something. It
Yeah.
seems like it's kind of unclear sometimes with castles when they're that old exactly when they started.
Yeah, I think maybe part of it was built and then like other parts were built in different times, or like added on to.
Yeah, mine seemed to be like that too.
Yeah. So before it was actually even started being built, two of the O'Bannon brothers, who were constantly fighting over which one was set to inherit their father's wealth and control over the castle, according to legend, they decided to have a competition where each brother would jump off of a huge rock located on the site of the future castle, and the one that apparently lived would get control of the building of the castle and the control of the family clan.
That is badass.
Yeah.
Are we sure we're not in Russia yet?
right? Again. No, this is Ireland. Um,
Oh, right, again.
yeah.
Damn it. Yeah, anyway.
Well,
That's crazy.
we don't know the winner of the competition if it ever actually occurred. It's now like lost. It can't be confirmed if this ever happened. But it does likely explain why the castle was originally known as O'Bannon's. I'm gonna call it O'Bannon's Leap because they leaped off the rock. But
Right. That sounds very familiar. I believe that is a pretty famous touristy spot, which is cool when the touristy spots in the UK and Ireland especially have like the most morbid of origins. I love it.
yeah. Though the O'Bannons were powerful, they were pledged to the O'Carroll family, who took control of the castle away from the O'Bannons. And it's said that the O'Carrolls used the castle as a site for many battles, massacres that occurred inside the walls. The
Oh.
Yeah, it's not great. Poor castle.
It's got a bloody history.
Yeah,
That tracks. It's a castle.
yeah. The
Mm.
O'Carrolls were a fierce and brutal clan, constantly struggling for power and supremacy, and they were known to be particularly violent and cunning in their attempts for domination.
World domination?
Yeah,
No.
probably.
Yeah. They
So,
were like a fractious bunch, those Celts, Irish, Scottish,
yeah,
British to a degree, but
yeah. John O'Carroll was thought to be the first Prince of Ely who lived at Leap Castle, and it is very probable that it was him who was responsible for the construction of the earliest sections of Leap Castle.
okay.
John, yeah, so John O'Carroll died at Leap Castle suffering from the plague, and he was succeeded by his son named Mulrooney O'Carroll.
Mulrooney O'Carroll.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we talked about it's a last name here in Canada still.
Yeah.
A first name, that's weird.
Yeah. So Mulrooney O'Carroll was known for his strength, bravery, and valor, and he was considered a great leader. He was also called the Great Mulrooney, which kind of I don't know, in my head that makes him sound like a wizard. The Great Mulrooney.
Yeah, like Merlin or someone.
Yeah. So the Great Mulrooney died most likely at Leap Castle in 1532 after being a ruler for approximately 42 years. And when he died, he did so without specifically naming which of his sons would be his successor.
Oh my God. That
But
is so Game of Thrones. That is where he got the idea, George R. R. Martin, for, well, it's kind of in the history book about the Song of Ice and Fire. But the king dies and he said all his life that his Princess Rhaenyra would inherit the throne. But then after he dies, like his new wife was like, "Now your first daughter from your first marriage ain't gonna do that." And then there's a big bloody battle, and he was always inspired by the history of the UK. So
yeah,
that's interesting. Game of Thrones stuff. What?
yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, right.
So, uh,
What did we hear? So yes, they're leaping off the castle. They call it O'Bannon's Leap. O'Carroll was doing something. I forget what else
he
we were
died.
just. Oh, he was dying.
Yeah. Okay. So he died. He didn't specifically name which of his sons would be his successor.
Right. Like
Um,
the Game of Thrones guy. Okay.
yeah. And once again, brothers fought over who would inherit the castle. One of the brothers, Thaddeus, was a priest, and his brother Teague is how I'm choosing to pronounce his name. It's Teighe. Teague.
Okay. Nailed it.
Uh, he was convinced that he was the rightful heir. So Teague killed Thaddeus while he was in the middle of saying Mass in the castle's chapel. And this chapel has become known as the Bloody Chapel. And it is said that you can hear that or see Thaddeus' spirit roaming the halls of the castle late at night, even to this day.
Woof. That is pretty rough.
Yeah, murdering a priest in the chapel.
In the chapel.
Well, he's saying Mass. Like that's
Gonna guess
intense.
if there's a hell, gonna guess you're probably gonna go there.
Yeah.
Spoiler.
So, in 1659, an O'Carroll daughter at the time fell in love with an English prisoner whose last name was Darby, and she would sneak him food while they plotted a way to run away together and get married. At some point, she let him out of the prison, and Darby fought one of the O'Carroll sons in the stairwell and killed the son.
Who let the Darbys out? Who?
Yeah.
Who?
So that would have been, well, Thaddeus was the one that was murdered in the chapel. So I'd say this was Teague that Darby killed. And
Okay.
yeah, the O'Carroll daughter became the only heiress to the castle, meaning that the English prisoner Darby would inherit the castle as well, because they were together.
Right. But he probably didn't orchestrate that. Not at all. They were in
No.
love.
Yeah. Although the couple soon owned Leap Castle outright, Darby began to lose his grip on sanity. He apparently became obsessively focused on money, going as far as to hide it throughout the castle, and then I guess forgot where he had hidden it and couldn't stop searching for the money that he wanted so badly. And after he died, his ghost is said to be seen going around the castle still looking for his money. So that's creepy.
Aww. You don't need it where you're going, buddy.
Yeah.
Park over.
You don't need earthly possessions.
Yeah, that was not uncommon, I guess. It's like an army's coming, people are like, hide the silver, you know.
Yeah, we
If you
don't
can
have
bury it-
banks.
Yeah, if you can bury it in the yard or something, then you're gonna do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Darby's children and their children remained at Lap Castle for the next century or so.
Okay,
So
just a bit.
jumped from the 1600s to the late 1800s. A woman named Mildred Dill married Jonathan Darby, who at the time was the owner of the castle.
Okay.
And seances were held in the castle by Mildred, who was a writer of Gothic novels. But we're going to circle back to her.
Nice. She sounds cool.
Yeah, I have some more information later. She's quite interesting. So Mildred loved her home deeply, and unfortunately, loved her home deeply. Unfortunately, in 1922, she and her husband were forced out of the castle due to the ongoing Irish Rebellion, and since the Darbys were English, they feared for their lives.
Oh, they were English. Oh, right, because he was English. The original Darby.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, because he was an English prisoner.
Right, a sexy, sexy prisoner. It was basically, what's that old movie? The English Patient? I don't know. They referenced it.
I haven't seen it.
I don't think I have either. Never mind.
So this
That's
brings
not
us
for our age demographic.
No. This brings me to my next section.
Okay.
In the early hours of Sunday morning on the 30th of July, 1922, a party of 11 raiders set fire to Lep, totally destroying the north and larger wing of the castle and its valuable contents.
Ooh.
Giving evidence in the claims court, Richard Dawkins said that on the 30th of July, he was living in the castle as caretaker with his wife and baby, and they were the only people in the castle that night.
Ooh, all alone. Okay, in a creepy castle.
Richard Dawkins stated that at 2:20 a.m. there was a knock on the door, and when he opened the window, put his head out, he saw men outside, and the men told him that they needed a night's lodging. and they ordered him to open the door. He went down and opened the door and was then held at gunpoint. Hold on.
Oh, of course.
The,
That's not great.
held at gunpoint.
Yeah, someone was being held at gunpoint, Clockwork Orange style. Or whatever. They're just coming into someone's house for no reason and invading. Am I wrong?
They're there to burn down the castle, essentially.
Okay, I forgot who was coming to the door.
Yeah,
Right.
it's the random people who are gonna burn shit down. So
Okay.
the raiders then stated that they were going to burn down the castle. Dawkins asked for time to get his wife and child out and was given about 20 minutes to do so. The raiders then went into the castle and poured petrol over the rooms and set them on fire. They
call gas.
Yeah, it's not gas, it's petrol.
They call gas in the UK, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They kept the family outside from 2:30 a.m. to 5 a.m., so 2.5 hours. That's quite a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Each of the men had a tin of petrol, and all of them were armed. Some had trench coats, and others had bandoliers over their civilian clothes.
Oh my!
Yeah,
Bandoliers.
Yeah,
They meant business.
Yeah, the men broke furniture before setting the castle on fire. After the fire, the main part of the building was still intact, and Richard Dawkins saved some of the furniture and stored it in one of the out offices. The out offices were later broken into and looted by people from surrounding neighborhoods who devoted every Sunday to making visits to the ruined building and carting home any serviceable articles that had escaped the fire. So now they're just being robbed.
Right. Some places it's weird how they would just be reduced to rubble if something tragic happened there. People would just take souvenirs.
Yeah.
This also reminds me of Beauty and the Beast. I just hear like, kill the beast! Boom! Kill the beast! As they're trying to use that big, whatchamacallit? Oh, what do you call it when you battering ram? Open up the door? Yeah. That's cool.
So the next day, on Monday morning, the 31st of July, Richard Dawkins and his wife, they had gone to live in the gate lodge on the premises, heard a knock at the door at 4:20 a.m., and men outside. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm 12. Carry on.
Men outside asked him for paraffin oil. He stated that he had none, and the men then left and went down to the castle. When he followed them down to the castle, he found that the southern part of Lepp, which had not been burned in the fire the day before, was now on fire.
Oh no.
And Richard Dawkins could not get into the castle to save any of the furniture and pieces or pictures that had survived the first fire, and all he managed to save were chairs and a sofa that he had stored in the burr. So that's where him and his wife were staying.
Oh, so everything else perished in the fire.
Yeah, his wife was the only one who gave him any assistance. Although plenty of people came to see the fire, they only laughed when Dawkins asked them for help.
Aww.
Yeah. So in a newspaper report, Jonathan Darby, the owner of the castle at the time, said that it looked as if there were explosives used in the destruction of the castle, and he had found some dynamite in the cellar where apparently raiders got so drunk that they couldn't explode it, and he believed that it was the locals who had burned down the castle.
Oh, the drunken mob.
Yeah.
Shit. Raiders got drunk in the dark. It's the sequel to Raiders of the Lost Ark that you never knew about.
Raiders got drunk in the dark.
I don't know. Yeah.
So my next section is about something interesting they found. So during renovations of the castle in the 1930s, hidden behind the walls of the Bloody Chapel, workers apparently found an oubliette.
Ooh, a forgetting place.
Yeah, so the oubliette is a secret dungeon with access only through a trapdoor in its ceiling. And they discovered it filled with hundreds of human skeletons. Many of the skeletons were mounted on wooden spikes 8 feet below. So the trapdoor would open and the people would fall through the hole on the trapdoor onto the spikes, or I guess onto the stone floor.
Well, the pile of corpses at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. So when it was cleaned out, it apparently took 3 cartloads to remove the approximately 150 bodies. And there's 2 explanations for this mass grave. Either the O'Carrolls launched a mass attack in the chapel and then pushed the remains into the hidden room, or they used the wooden spikes as a method of surprise attack for unsuspecting visitors to the castle.
Okay. Either or. They're really not that friendly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not built for a specific reason other than to shove people into so that they can die trapped in a hole.
The oubliette itself. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, they're not good.
Yeah. So
That's not a jail or a prison where you're going to bring someone back out of.
no.
You go in there, you're likely not getting back out. Except
Yeah,
in Discovery because she flew back out.
Oh,
Sorry.
I was going to say they're not throwing down a ladder for you.
No, you got to have magic or some shit to get out of that predicament.
Yeah. So a pocket watch found at the same time in the 1930s, dated back to the mid-1800s, and shows how recently the oubliette may have been used. Because this, the O'Carroll family and everything took it in the 1600s. So up until the 1800s at least, it was still being used.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's 220 years ago. Not that long ago.
Right. When we would like to think we were more civilized in the 19th century.
Yeah.
We had all sorts of more conveniences. There wasn't much use for us to be torturing each other anymore.
Yeah. So today, the dungeon, the oubliette, is now covered by a metal grate in order to keep people away from it.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
No pun intended. It's like a well, though. Hopefully it's an infallible grate that no one can ever fall through.
No, it looks like it's pretty thick.
Okay, that's good.
The holes you could maybe fit a adult's is pretty skinny woman's arm through. Other than that, nothing's going through.
Why even have holes? Ugh. Anyway.
I think it's so people can still look through it, on the tours and everything.
I want to say pour concrete in it, but it's kind of historical and awesome, so
yeah.
I guess you have to leave it.
I guess so. So this moves on to my longest section, of course, and is the theme of this episode. It's about the hauntings.
That's the fun part too. But I like getting the history because you get to know the place.
Yeah.
And then you're like, you don't know who the ghosts are if you're not told about who lived there.
Yeah, you don't really get the context of where some of these people might be people that lived there or whatever.
Mm-hmm. It's more believable if you know the story.
Yeah. So, hauntings. So in my research for it, I did find a TV show that visited Leap Castle. I can't remember when they visited, but the show is called Most Haunted, and they visited in their first season on episode 5, so they were fairly new show when they visited.
Okay.
And according to this show, which I could find no other reference to really, or source on the castle's website or the Wikipedia or anything, but according to the show, they said that Leap Castle is supposedly built on a pagan ritual site, and those rituals, along with the history of murders, add to the hauntings of the castle.
Wow. Especially because like a lot of stone circles and other kind of monolithic pagan sites, yeah, were built on ley lines or geographical lines of force, and then they'd have to do with solstices and stuff lining up certain times a year and all that kind of cool shit. So if that's true, then that's a whole nother layer of significance.
Yeah.
Neat.
So the first ghost or haunting spirit we're going to talk about is called the Red Lady. And yeah.
Lady in red.
Waiting for you.
What?
Isn't that the song? She's waiting for you?
Is dancing with me. That's the
Oh.
one I was thinking of. It's by Krista Berg. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's one of those like wedding songs that people dance to, slow dance. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I just picture really old people in a bar that's like a dive bar, and they're like one of only 8 customers in there on a Tuesday night. And they're just, yeah.
No, think of like a grandparent couple just waltzing around at a wedding. It's a beautiful song. Anyway, shut up.
All right. The Red Lady is often seen wandering the castle in a red gown holding a knife.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Lady in red. Red lady.
Yeah. Allegedly, she was held hostage by the O'Carroll family, apparently some of who raped her multiple times, and she apparently delivered a baby, and the O'Carrolls killed it. And the Red Lady was so upset that she grabbed the knife and killed herself as well. But another story states that the 2 O'Carroll family members were fighting over the woman, and when she tried to run away, they chased her and stabbed her to death.
Those are both terrible.
Yeah.
That one was going to be horrible. I would feel shitty for making Lady in Red singing.
All of them are going to be horrible.
The first one was like the most horrible option, I think, with the baby and the raping.
Yeah. They both suck, but that one's the worst.
Yeah.
So she apparently, either way, she wanders the castle nightly, hoping to find the men who killed her child. And there have been sightings of this spirit for centuries. And she's said to be wearing a long red dress, and she's described as tall and lean with long flowing brown hair. The next area is the priest's house. So since the fire in 1922, the priest's house remains nothing but a ruin, so it's completely abandoned.
Oh, spooky.
Yeah, spirits, however, have been sighted for long before it was set on fire. And even Mildred Darby, a former resident of Leap Castle, cited the paranormal activity. She says there is something heavy that lies on people's beds and snores, and they feel the weight of a great body pressing against them in a room in the priest's house. She describes a monk with a tonsure and cowl walks in at one window and out another.
Oh, was that Mildred Dill?
Yeah.
Okay. She was a big dill. She came up close.
She's going to come up again at the end. I have a lot more about her.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah. So, the next is 2 little girls, because it's always 2 little girls. If we've learned anything from The Shining, it's always 2 little girls.
Indeed. Double the fun.
Yeah, so they're reported, Charlotte and Emily are reported to run up and down the spiral staircase in the main hall.
Just kidding.
They were said to live on the estate during the 1600s, with Emily dying at age 11 after she fell from the battlements on the top of the castle's tower. And Charlotte apparently can be seen running around after her sister and calling her name.
Aww, poor baby.
Yeah. And to this day, there are sightings of a little girl falling from the top of the castle, only to disappear before she reaches the ground. And Charlotte is also seen dragging a deformed leg behind her as she walks.
Oh, on the ground or crawls.
Yeah.
Aw, that's kind of sad.
Yeah. Another spirit in the castle is called the Murdered Woman. And she's the ghost of a woman who wanders, having been murdered by a member of the brutal O'Carroll family during the 1500s. And sightings usually account for a terrified woman who is spotted wearing very little clothing, and she apparently screams twice before disappearing into thin air.
Oh, Coral!
Yeah. Apparently they just murdered everybody.
But also makes me think of those GIFs and memes with the guy from The Walking Dead. Coral!
Oh.
Haven't you ever seen any of those? Because his son's name is Carl, and he's always, Carl!
Yeah, he's just yelling at him.
Well, yeah, that's basically the gist of it. And there's just so many different variations on the GIF or whatever.
Oh. So probably my favorite pair of spirits are called the governess and the old man.
Oh.
Yeah.
Everyone's got like a nice title, like it is a game of Clue or something.
Yeah.
A
Who
murder
am
mystery.
I?
Yeah.
Are you the governess and the old man? Yes.
I know, like they don't have names. You wouldn't be Kelsey. You would be like, I don't know. What would you be like? The curly-haired woman?
Probably.
Something.
The governess and the old man are two apparitions that are sporadically seen in separate instances. The governess, who is also referred to as the nanny, is seen often alongside Emily and Charlotte, and she is very particular about who she reveals herself to, which happens to be mostly blonde women.
Okay. I guess I'm not
Yeah.
going to see her then.
Yeah, she only likes blonde women. So
And women. I was going to say I was blonde when I was a little kid, but I guess that doesn't count.
yeah.
Weird.
The old man has been spotted on occasion sitting in a comfy armchair enjoying the heat in front of the main hall's grand fireplace. So they just sound like a quaint pair. A nanny who likes blondes and an old man sitting in a chair in front of a fire.
So the nanny, aka Fran Drescher from the show The Nanny, and Bernie Sanders in that GIF where he's wearing the mittens at the inauguration of Biden.
Yes.
I would Photoshop that if I could.
I love that. Okay.
I have no imagination. TV shapes my imagination, and now the internet, now that I'm a grown woman.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's awesome.
Apparently also a man who lives in the oubliette, who has apparently moved pictures around in one of the main rooms, because he had requested that specific doors be left unlocked. And when they weren't unlocked, he moved a bunch of pictures around. And this is according to the current owner of the castle.
Oh, so he chooses to live in the oubliette, but he can get out and cause mischief if he wants to.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, yeah. I'd be pissed off if I died there.
Yeah, when I was watching the Most Haunted episode and they were talking, they actually did have an encounter with both the governess and the man who lives in the oubliette. So with the governess, they were actually kind of just talking, with the owner, and everybody was in the room together, like the production crew and stuff. And they were kind of getting ready to start filming, but they hadn't really started filming. They were talking about like where we're going to film the intro and like stuff like that. And
Okay.
one of the women, I think there was two of them that were blonde. The woman, they were all like standing in the room, and the woman like out of nowhere like freaked out because somebody had like very heavily like put their hand on her like shoulder from behind her. And when she turned, there was nobody behind her at all because they were in a circle. Yeah, and then it was like, it wasn't told to her at the time, but it was like later revealed and stuff to her that it was most likely the governess because she was blonde.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that gave me pretty hard scrunch face. I was like, ooh, hard shoulder, like hand, like, oh, I
Yeah.
need to get your attention right now. Like,
Yeah.
like a confident man or whatever. And you're like, oh, you're just taken aback.
Mm-hmm. And then they did have a psychic, I believe,
Yeah.
who was on there. And he actually, when they were doing a tour of the castle, he actually did witness the guy that lives in the oubliette. He said that he could see him, like, and he was standing like in the entryway to it under the trap door, and he was like kind of stretching out his arms like he was trying to like grab onto something to like pull himself out. And it actually like made him feel like so bad and like scared and everything that he ended up leaving like the room and asked them to leave because he didn't want to keep standing there watching this guy struggling to get out of the oubliette. So
Ew, Bliette.
yeah, just like,
Gross.
yeah, I'll
So
post
gross.
pictures of the oubliette like on the website where we normally post like pictures for our segments, because if you imagine like two arms kind of like reaching out of it, I don't know, it gives me like the heebie jeebies for sure. Like it just grosses me out.
Yeah, I'm picturing like a whole torso because I can't see the arms without like the head, like a head popping up. Maybe not any features, but kind of like remember that Anguished Man painting in episode
Yeah,
3? Something like
I
that.
picture like that kind of face. Yeah.
Ooh, gross.
Yeah. Like the door to it isn't very big. It's probably about the size of a door you'd have for like an attic hatch or like a crawl space. Like it's not very big.
Yeah,
Yeah, so you'd probably only be
sure.
able to see his face and like arms and stuff, but it's quite a long like tunnel that goes down. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
That's all.
as discussed before, the Bloody Chapel. So the
Wow.
Bloody Chapel is now kind of just a shell of the chapel on the grounds of Lep Castle, and it remains apparently one of the most haunted settings in the estate.
For
Um,
sure.
yeah, today and for many generations, there have been reports of light streaming from its windows at nightfall, and the smell of burning rubber, as well as even the spirit of the murdered priest, who I assume is Thaddeus, lurking in the stairwell. Um,
Ooh.
and according to the current owner of the castle, when I was watching the Most Haunted episode, he stated that a northern tribe of about 39 people had reportedly been invited to the castle and into the chapel, and apparently were murdered by poison and died in the chapel.
What?
So they are supposedly haunting as well.
Almost 40 people.
Yeah, in one go. I couldn't really find that like talked about anywhere other than him mentioning it in the episode, so I'm not sure.
Right. Well, it's hard to say. Yeah, not everything gets written down, but that's crazy if that's
Mm-hmm.
true.
Yeah. So that brings us to our last spirit, The elemental is said to be the origin, or is said that the origin of this presence is unknown, with some
Marvel.
believing.
It's from Marvel Comics. They have elementals.
Yeah.
I love that yours has a bunch of names. I have a few like that too. I like it when they give the spirits like a nickname.
Yeah, and it can be like, that's the woman in red. Like,
Yeah.
that's Charlotte and Emily.
Yeah, sometimes it's a name, but other times it's definitely I can like the names better when they're for spirits rather than like when it's true crime and it's like the Night Stalker and you're like, ooh, well that's a cool name, but the guy is an asshole, so I don't want to like it.
Yeah. He
Yeah.
doesn't deserve that name.
Well, exactly. It's just kind of like you're like, oh, you shouldn't have a cool name.
Yeah.
It should be like the
So,
Shit Eater or something.
I'm gonna hopefully die by lethal injection.
Instead of like something stupid like Taser Face for Guardians. I
Yeah.
don't know. Diaper Face. Let's start giving them stupid nicknames so they don't get any cool notoriety.
Right? And never allow them to pick their own nickname.
Exactly.
Like, whenever they self-publish letters to the newspaper, nah, just like white that part out and put like
Jack the Ripper.
the idiot.
Yeah, what's that? Jack the Shitter? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
The idiot that still uses a fax machine. Like,
This dumb asshole.
yeah. Anonymous. Anyway.
Anyway.
So its origins are unknown, but some believe it was conjured by druids or summoned by an invading party, while others claim it's the troubled spirit of someone who lived in the castle. Yeah, regardless of how it started, it's pretty easy to understand why the elemental is so memorable. And those who are unlucky enough to encounter it describe a rotting human-like figure reeking of putrefying flesh. Yeah.
Nice.
Vivid imagery right there.
Totally.
This spirit predates many of the families of Lep Castle. Some suggest the apparition named the Elemental potentially date back to the time of the Druids when sorcery would have been used to protect the sacred land on which Lep Castle was then built. Others say that Gerald Fitzgerald, Earl of Kildare, an accomplished magic practitioner, in a bid to take the castle, is responsible for this spirit.
Okay.
Either
Couple
way,
of origin stories.
yeah, where it could have come from.
Mm-hmm.
Either way, it is said that the elemental is menacing and sinister presence who only makes itself known to those who provoke it. Local myths say that the elemental is the spirit of an ancient O'Carroll who died in the castle from leprosy. And yeah, so that's also bad. You got the plague, and then
Not a great like warrior's death.
no. In the most haunted episode that I watched, their investigation with I believe he was a psychic, he actually saw the Red Lady, and he ended up witnessing and described watching the Red Lady shift in her features into what was described as the elemental. And this again, like, he hadn't been told about the Red Lady or the elemental, and he described the Red Lady like pretty vividly, and then described like the elemental pretty vividly. And at the time he well, the Red Lady, when he witnessed her, she was like standing on kind of a loft part in the main room. And he was like, oh, can we go up there? Can we go up there? And they're like, yeah. So they went up the stairs, and then he was only standing about a foot away from her. And he was like describing her and stuff. And then he's like, oh, hold on, like she's shifting. And she shifted in like her appearance into the elemental, and he was still only standing like a meter away from her. And So he described, because he was kind of at a loss for words and just kept looking at the current owner, being like, I can't believe you live here and stuff. And like, you live with this thing every day. Yeah.
Oh my
So he
God.
described the elemental as being the only dark and actual evil presence in the castle. And again, he witnessed, along with what I assumed based on the descriptions he provided, to be the governess, the old man, and the man who lives in the oubliette. At one point in the episode, he was in a room and he described like a man and woman that just, he said it's almost like every day they walk the same path, like almost arm in arm, like side by side. And stuff. So I kind of took that to be the governess and the old man based on how he described them being dressed.
Like a girl and her gay friend just hanging out every day. I don't know.
But yeah, I would recommend the episode. It's actually pretty good.
Okay.
I wish they had more with the psychic on there, because after like these, I don't know, it was like 40 some minutes long, the episode, and he was really only in it for like 15 minutes out of that whole time. So that was kind of disappointing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's any other shows about it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it would be interesting for sure, I think. If there was other shows that had investigated it.
Yeah.
Ghost Hunter. This just happened to be, probably, this just happened to be the only one I watched.
Cool. Someday maybe we can go there ourselves.
Right? Yeah.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
My last section is my longest section. Or my second last section. And it is, because I said we'd come back to her, it's all about Mildred Dill, or Mildred Darby.
Mrs. Dill.
Yeah. So, Mildred Darby, her family is very interesting. So, there's something called the Murder Hole Room, and it's apparently another place in the castle which has been deemed haunted over multiple generations. And although yeah, the Murder Hole Room, I kind of thought that was just the oubliette.
Well, a murder hole can be from a hole in a ceiling where you say pour hot oil on someone coming in to like the entranceway of a castle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I just thought this would have been like the bloody chapel, the murder hole room, because the oubliette was found behind the wall of the bloody chapel. So, like, in my opinion, I think the murder hole room is probably just the bloody chapel. But
okay.
Although the exact location of this room is disputed, claims of supernatural spirits are not. It is said that the murder hole room was also the site of an O'Carroll family murder. So again, the O'Carroll brother murdered his brother in the bloody chapel.
They're starting to remind me of someone from, if you ever seen the Adam Sandler film Billy Madison, it's one of his first.
Oh no, I haven't.
He has to go back to school basically to get his rich family's like company, because his dad wants him to prove his worth or whatever. So he has to go back to school, and there's this family that's in it, and they're always like kind of the town bullies or whatever, like pull someone's pants down, and then they go, and then they all have red hair and freckles, and then after they do whatever they're gonna do and bully someone, they just go, "Oh, Doyle rules," and then they just walk away.
Oh, Carl,
so now every time you say, "Oh, Carl," I'm like, "Oh, these fucking guys!" Like, "Oh, Carl rules." I could just hear them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I agree. 20-year-old Mildred Dill, known to her friends as Millie. I love that name. Married the 35-year-old Jonathan Charles Darby on November 7th, 1889, and moved into Leap Castle. Millie was a highly talented author writing under the pen name Andrew Mary, and by the year 1910, Millie had published numerous short stories and 3 well-reviewed novels, all of which were extremely vexing to her husband, who was an arrogant autocrat with a violent temper and was remembered locally for upsetting his wife by intentionally tracking mud and muck from the stables onto her clean floors.
Oh, God damn it. What's his name?
Jonathan Charles Darby, because of course it is.
Damn it, Jonathan.
Jonathan Charles Darby.
Just mopped.
Yeah. Arguably, the most upsetting to Jonathan of all of her literary works was the story A House of Horrors, which was published in 1898 in Belgravia, which was a London magazine at the time.
Okay.
And although it was set in the guise of fictional narrative under her pen name Andrew Mary, with all of the names changed and Leap Castle being called Kilman Castle, Jonathan and Millie were changed to Maurice and Betty O'Connell, it was obvious that those that knew Millie's story that it was a true account of the ghosts at Leap Castle.
Right.
Yeah. When Jonathan became aware of the publication of the story, he was furious, and it is said that he never forgave her for writing it. He always claimed that the ghost stories, which had been told for centuries about his home, were utter nonsense, and that he had absolutely forbidden Millie from speaking about them. And he said that the only spirits in this house are in the cellars.
Sounds like he's a little scared.
Yeah. But the spirits, of which they were at least 19, were quite real, ranging in variety from a banshee and a partially unclothed red lady to a phantom light. Millie's story, though perhaps a bit overdramatic in the telling, was based upon fact. Others had attested to ghostly encounters at Leap for ages, and Millie herself had twice come face to face with the most terrifying of all of the castle's supernatural entities, what she called it and the thing, and which others had named the elemental.
Literally like 2 different horror movies right there. It and The Thing.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Where is our prequel called The Elemental?
Yeah, and that's like, yeah, like I said, straight from Marvel. So it's so funny, all the names. I like it.
Yeah. So the next sections I have are pretty much taken directly from her book, which was titled A House of Horrors, or they're from letters.
Oh, okay.
So, and her descriptions of the ghosts and spirits I already mentioned, I give descriptions of before. So these are her direct accounts from them in her own words. So I was standing in the gallery looking down at the main floor when I felt somebody put a hand on my shoulder, she later recalled. The thing was about the size of a sheep. Thin, gaunt, shadowy. Its face was human, to be more accurate, inhuman. Its lust in its eyes, which seemed half decomposed in black cavities, stared into mine. The horrible smell, 100 times intensified, came up into my face, giving me a deadly nausea. It was the smell of a decomposing corpse. She also describes a final encounter with it in a letter to a friend. On the 25th November 1915,
Okay.
2 of our servants, knowing that the master, I assume that means Jonathan, would be late and that I was driving that afternoon, had invited friends, 2 soldiers from the barracks at Burr, distant the other side 6 miles. They came rather late, and my husband came home early, so the visitors had to be kept out of his sight in the lower regions of one of the wings, which would have been about in, I think, the priest's house. They were unable to be shown the center tower, the very lofty hall. At 7:15, my husband and I went up to dress for dinner. My room is extremity of the house from kitchens, his dressing room next door to me. Again, this is her own words, so super old English writing.
Her bedroom's in the extremity of the house. Yeah, I get it.
I'd say that would mean like the outside walls.
Okay.
Whilst I was dressing, I was startled by a loud yell of terror-stricken male and female voices coming apparently from the hall, and ran out to see the cause. My husband was out ahead of me at his heels. I passed through corridor of the wing and onto the gallery. On the gallery, leaning with hands, in quotes, resting on its rail, I saw the thing, the elemental, and smelt it only too well. At the same moment, my husband pulled up sharply about 10 feet from the thing, and half turning let fly a volley of abuse at me, ending up, and this is what he said, dressing up a thing like that to try and make a fool of me. And now you'll say I've seen something and I've not seen anything, and there was nothing to see or ever was. This last speech, without a pause, began waving one hand at the thing, end up by stalking back to his dressing room, still abusing me for trying to give him a fright. As he was speaking, the elemental grew fainter and fainter in its outlines until it disappeared. He never made an inquiry as to the yell that caused us both out, and from that day to this has not mentioned the incident to me.
Of course. Men don't like to talk.
So she goes on, I heard from our servants that when we went to dress for dinner that they had brought their friends just to show them the hall, when all four had suddenly seen and smelt the elemental looking down at them from the gallery. They all got such a turn they couldn't help letting out a bawl, then fled to servants' quarters where all four were very sick. Apparently, the next day, two maids presented Millie with letters claiming that it was necessary for them to immediately pay visits to their homes, and they never returned to Lep Castle.
No kidding.
Yeah. Mildred Darby has also seen the spirits Emily and Charlotte at Lep Castle, and her account is this. Another night I was sleeping with my little girl. I awoke and saw a girl with long, fair hair standing at the fireplace, one hand at her side, the other on the chimney piece. Thinking at first it was my little girl, I felt on the pillow to see if she were gone, but she was fast asleep. There was no light or fire of any kind in the room. Mildred Darby also describes a similar spirit to the murdered woman in the book True Irish Ghost Stories, where she says, one night I was sitting talking with my governess. I got up, said goodnight, and opened the door, which was on the top of the back staircase. As I did so, I heard someone, a woman, come slowly upstairs, walk past us to a window at the end of the landing, and then with a shriek fall heavily. As she passed, it was bitterly cold, and I drew back into the room, but did not say anything, as it might frighten the governess. Oh, there's also a reenactment of the two O'Carroll brothers fighting over Lover, and she was witnessed chasing along the gallery and then being stabbed, and they all disappear, and the entire keep is lit up. The current owner, Sean Ryan, also says he has heard the woman screaming.
The current owner, wow, okay.
Yeah, I have a little bit more about him at the end. The old man has also been seen by Mildred Darby. He's described as there's a little old man with a green cutaway coat, knee breeches, and bright shoe buckles, holding a leather bag in his hand. Sometimes seen with a little old woman with skinny hands, long black mitts, old-fashioned dress, and big headdress. Both are sometimes seen with an old man dressed like a priest with an intensely cunning face. And then it just says that the green old man tries to stop people. But I don't know if that means like he tries to stop them from like doing stuff or like stop and talk to them. I'm not sure.
Yeah, who knows?
In early 1922, Jonathan found himself at odds with his tenants, which resulted in their refusal to pay their rents and led to a boycott against the Darbys. When events escalated to the point where shots were fired throughout the castle windows on several occasions and their garden was destroyed by unknown people, in May or April of that year, the Darbys felt compelled to flee from their home and live with their daughter in Langford. She says, "We were forced to leave with only a few clothes, leaving all of our precious belongings behind," Millie later wrote to a friend. And this catches us back up to the morning of Sunday, July 30th, 1922, when the group of 11 unidentified men broke into the castle, smashed the furniture, and set the castle on fire. And then next morning, burning the previously untouched southern part of the castle and looting whatever they could save from the fire. So to the current times. So for decades, so pretty much from 1922 until 1974, the castle lay in ruins. In 1974, Peter Bartlett, together with builder Joe Sullivan, carried out extensive restoration work on the castle up to the time of his death in 1989. Although Leap Castle is now privately owned, paranormal investigations can still visit. The current owner, Sean Ryan, who purchased the castle in 1989, offers tours and is immensely knowledgeable about the strange, bloody, and ghostly history of Leap Castle. He says he also has experienced phantom footsteps and has heard the chanting of monks in the castle. And he has witnessed several ghosts, including the woman that screams and disappears.
Oh, like the red lady or the murdered lady? One of those ones?
I think that's the murdered lady. Yeah.
That would track.
So I actually find it kind of interesting reading through like Millie's account of where the elemental was seen on the gallery, leaning with its hands on the railing, because from what I understand, the guy saw the red lady on like the loft, kind of, I don't know if that's what they'd assume a gallery would be. But he saw her there, and then when they went up there, she transformed into the elemental. So I kind of find it interesting that Millie possibly witnessed the elemental up there as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it would be similar, a gallery, like an upper viewing area of some kind. So gallery loft, seems like it could be the
Yeah,
same.
because it's like a giant room. It's got like a huge table. Looks like it could be like a giant like dining room, but it has like a meeting table at it. It's a huge wooden table, and then it's got like a big chimney or a big fireplace, and then there's like kind of a set of staircases that or stairs that go up and then have a little landing and then go up again, and then it has like a door, and then they called it like a bedroom that was up there, but it's essentially just like about the size of a bedroom, just a floor up there, and then it has a railing and you could look out from there into that whole room. And that's where he saw the red lady and they went up there and it transformed into the elemental.
Yeah, that sounds like a loft bedroom to me.
Yeah.
I'm in one of the houses I grew up in.
So it's kind of cool.
Top of the stairs and got the breath knocked out of me. That was fun. The top of the ladder. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's my case.
Oh, yay!
That's Leap Castle.
That's really cool. I would love to go visit it for all of our Irish heritage and all the cool stories.
Hold on. I can't remember if it was somewhere I saw that like the exterior of it has been used in movies or something.
Oh, cool. I mean, they filmed a lot of Game of Thrones in Ireland and stuff.
Hi there. I'm Megan.
And I'm Danielle.
And we are Crime and Roses.
We are a true crime and Bachelor franchise recap podcast.
Yeah, we're both.
We are two Georgia attorneys watching and recapping all things Bachelor just for you.
So we're talking Bachelor, Bachelorette,
Bachelor in Paradise, Winter Games, Summer Games, all the games.
Basically any show that ABC comes up with and forces us to watch, and then we'll release a true crime episode connected to what we've seen on the show that week.
So if you don't like true crime, we have The Bachelor. And if you don't like The Bachelor, we have true crime.
And if you don't like either,
we're probably not the podcast for you, and that's okay.
So, if you're into one of those things, both of those things, come check us out as we combine our two favorite things into one-stop listening shop for you.
So find us on your favorite podcatcher and on social media at Crime and Roses, and email us at crimeandroses@gmail.com.
Bye! Love you, mean it!
My castle's in Norway.
Yeah.
Scandinavian kind of goes to harkens back to episode 1 when I did Fenrir. Because I did the notes about the same time. But I went back and looked at them and found more stuff, and it was a really cool castle. Yeah.
I'm excited.
Yeah. I love castles. Oh, man.
I think they're cool. Like, I have to say, as like a person that wasn't ever really a big fan of like church and stuff like that, the construction of really old churches and stuff is so beautiful. Like,
true. One of the earliest pieces of architecture that was like meant to be beautiful rather than just like functional, because they were like, oh, okay, well, we're just poor people, but we can it's okay to spend some money on it if it's like an ode to God or whatever. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I feel like castles are the same thing, because back then it just took so long to build things. I feel like there was a lot more like dedication and maybe like the thought was put into it.
Well, there's such a symbol of like the wealth of that country or region or whatever.
Yeah.
And by definition, it's like, well, not by definition, but that's not the right word, but because they're castles and most of them are quite old, because we just don't tend to build most like any modern castles now. They all have a really long history, so they do all tend to be at least a little bit haunted.
Yeah, there's actually, I have to shout out, there was 2 that I almost covered that I didn't end up covering. The first one was Bronze Castle, that they say is like people go back and forth whether Bram Stoker used it as like the castle that was supposed to be for Dracula.
Oh, is it Brahms, like Brahm, like Bram Stoker's Dracula?
Yeah. But the castle was Bran, Braun. Like that's what the castle was named. It's like Braun Castle.
Oh, well, don't tell us too much. You could cover it next time.
Well, I tried looking it up, and they're like, yeah, because apparently Vlad the Impaler stayed there. And I tried looking it up, and they're like, people are like split. They're like, nah, he never stayed there. And it was like, okay.
Oh, that sucks.
And then it was like, yeah, and she never would have known about that castle or whatever when she was writing the book. And that the description of the castle, some say the description matches to a T. Some people say it doesn't at all. And I was like, well, there's a dead end, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, because I was all excited. I was like, oh, I can talk about Dracula's castle. This is going to be so cool. And then it was like, nope. And my second...
I don't really know too much about it, but there's definitely some other famous castles that are creepy. And what was Elizabeth Bathory's castle then? She had a creepy one too. She was a lot like Vlad the Impaler. But anyway.
And then the second runner-up I had was a really old castle, actually, I think in Toronto, Canada, that people can get married in and stuff, that was had a bunch of stuff that people had been murdered and stuff into. but I was like, it wasn't quite as old. But yeah, I was in Canada. I thought it was pretty cool.
I feel like the farthest it could go back in North America would be like the 17th century, 18th century. Yeah. I mean, that's when you think of it that way, that's true. I think there's like none, but then when you say Toronto, I'm like, holy shit, really?
Yeah, when you do like old Quebec and stuff, like that place looks like you're in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah. The cobblestones and everything. Oh, for sure. And is it Quebec that has the old walled part? Yeah, exactly. It's very ancient city.
That was kind of cool. I was like, oh, we're going to talk about haunted castles and stuff, and everybody thinks castles in like Europe and everything. So I was looking up like, ooh, castles. Like I found one that is considered a castle, but it's like in Japan, and I was like, oh, it's so pretty. Yeah.
One time we'll have to do like uncommon castles or something.
Yeah, just do an episode about castles.
Yeah, especially ones that maybe you wouldn't think of as castles.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
Unknown castles. All right. So, yeah, mine's in Norway. And fun fact number 1, in 2017, Norway surpassed Denmark as the happiest place on Earth.
Yay! Oh, that always makes me happy.
I think the Scandinavian countries are really doing something right.
Well, don't they just like in general have some of the smallest like they're one of like, for lack of a better word, like developed world, like they're fully developed kind of thing, but they still have a very small like population density or something?
It could be some of that, but from what I've learned about their culture, because of being in the travel industry, and like you'll do like, well, like learn about Ireland or learn about whatever, and then you learn that it's a very cultural thing for them to live off the land and conserve and like really appreciate the land and the earth that they're on, and then you know what I mean, stuff like that.
Okay.
They like take pride in like family. It's not all about possessions there and buying 10 cars for your house. You know what I mean? It's more like, you know, have some family over for dinner and make some Christmas decorations out of some like, you know, leaves and like sticks you find in the ground, or like, you know what I mean? It's more like, so they're so down to earth and like they have
like a wholesome life.
Yeah, I kind of got into it more like when I got together with Pat, because he's Swedish descent. Like he is Canadian, but he's like second generation, like his grandparents spoke Swedish and came from there and stuff and emigrated from there. And then yeah, you can buy those, like I bought what's the little book? I bought a book.
My mom has one that was like Swedish Living or something.
Yeah, I literally can't remember what it's called right now, and I feel bad because I think I can remember the name of the little Danish book. It was called like Hig or something, and it's like little words we have that like we don't have in English that are like, yeah, living this way, and I'm like, oh my god, I love this culture. I love it.
Yeah.
I really enjoy it. But I don't have any of that ancestry, so I really embrace that part that I kind of like married into.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, fun fact number 2, Edvard Munch is from Adelsbruck, Norway. I remember I only talked about him in You Cursed because I eventually figured out that he was the one that painted the Scream. It took me a long time. It was an embarrassing long time. But I remembered who painted it, and it's Edvard Munch. And also I thought this quote was cool. Apparently he once said, "I was born dying," which is pretty emo for the 1800s.
He's the OG emo kid.
It reminds me, there's a Metallica lyric that's just like, "I was born for dying." Also, another thing I thought that was cool about Norway kind of culture, someone was talking about, like on a podcast I listened to, someone was talking about their relatives that were from there, and they said there's like a saying that is kind of, that goes, there's no such thing as bad weather, only bad clothing, which totally resonates with me as a Canadian living in Edmonton.
Yeah.
The weather can be nice. You just have to, like, if it's fucking cold, you better fucking dress for it, because otherwise
Or
you're not
don't
gonna
leave your
wear
house.
little mittens like I used to in New Brunswick.
Yeah.
Out here, you could, like, literally freeze your fingers off.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then you can be, like, once you're dressed up and comfortable for it, like, skiing can be nice and things like that.
Yeah, dress appropriately. Check
I'm
the
learning
weather report before you leave the house. It takes all of 5 seconds. You remember
Sorry.
what was it, on Monday or Tuesday earlier this week? And we had that random snowfall. And at my work, there was a bunch of customers that were coming in the middle of the day wearing flip-flops while it was like hardcore snowing out. And it was because they hadn't checked the weather.
Yesterday or Wednesday? I got really confused about what day it was this week. But yeah, it was like somebody was like, "Oh, it's blizzarding out," and I was like, "Oh, okay." But it
Yeah.
didn't stay, at least.
No, it was only there for like the day.
Actually, today it was close to 20 again. Celsius. I'm sorry for Americans. I don't know. That's probably close to 60, maybe. It's like a third I always think of. Anyway, my math's not great.
Yeah. But anyway, your case, your segment.
Back to our regular scheduled programming. Norway is known for things like gorgeous yet refined Scandinavian architecture, the midnight sun, and sights like stunning glaciers and fjords. Fjords are like those beautiful deep inlets you see coming in from the sea. Like, so instead of it just being like a regular bay, it's like stunning cliff sides, and the water's just like the icy water over the years. You know, it just, what's the word? Erodes it into like these beautiful structures.
Oh, okay.
So, I don't know. We have places like that in Canada, like Newfoundland, like in New Brunswick, there's like the Bay of Fundy has the highest tides in the world, and there's the flower pot rocks. They're so eroded on the bottom. That's why they call them the flower pot rocks, because they're like tiny on the bottom, and then they're big on the top, and they have things growing on them. And at high tide, they look like little islands because the bottom's all covered. And then at low tide, they're like super tall, and you can like walk below them, and they're like 30 feet above you.
Jeez, that's pretty cool.
The highest tides in the world, man, in Canada. Isn't that cool?
Yeah, I didn't know that.
I'm totally digressing. I'm supposed to be talking about Norway.
Just talking about how awesome Canada is instead of Norway.
I'm proud. Okay. All right. So I believe it's pronounced Akerhus, something like that. Fortress, they call it. It was my castle. It was built in the 1300s. It was initially intended to protect the royal residence and Oslo from attack or invasion. So Oslo is the capital of Norway. It's, for the visuals, it's kind of house-like. Not a lot of like round towers and not moats, but surrounding walls and stuff like British castles might have.
Okay.
It's like, to me it looks like a big square house like we would have for like Parliament here or something. With a lot of a couple of round towers, but not a lot of turrets and stuff.
Yeah.
Photos on the website, but anyway.
Yeah.
I'm like, Kelsey will do that. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, you have to send me what ones you like, and then if they don't work, I'll manage to find my own.
I know, I watched some guy who did like a whole YouTube video, and he walked around Norway and didn't talk a lot. But anyway, so Akerhus Fortress. It was not only a medieval castle built in the 14th century, but it also went on to become a military base, a prison, and Nazi occupied during World War II.
Oh.
It makes me think of Noxzema. It's a it's a face cream. Noxzema girls get noticed. No. That was an old commercial.
Wow.
Not that, but Nazis. Anyway, It currently,
Anyway, the Nazis.
anyway, moving on. It currently houses the Prime Minister, Erna Solberg, and her family, and also is partially a museum.
Okay,
was
so like there's currently people living there?
That was what I read, that the Prime Minister does live on site, but that I also ended up reading in different places that parts were open to the public as a museum.
That's pretty cool.
I think so. I hope that's right. That's what I read.
Yeah.
It,
Not
it
just
was
like some random dude like mine that bought it, but like the Prime Minister lives there. That's pretty cool.
right. Whereas, like in England, oh my gosh, like they have so many palaces to choose from. Like she can summer in Scotland and then reside in Buckingham Palace and all that
Yeah.
stuff. So it was built by King Haakon V after a Norwegian nobleman started an attack, which prompted them to strengthen their defense, just in case. His wife was Queen Margaret, who had been married to him at age 10 and lived with King Haakon in the castle.
Lovely.
Sounds like a Game of Thrones wedding.
Who doesn't want to get married at age 10?
It's basically just a union of the families on paper until like somebody is 18 or, well, maybe
13.
not 18. Yeah.
Until
That might have been
somebody
13.
hits puberty and can pop out some children at age 13.
Oh,
Yeah.
13. Don't. That hit me. That hit me where it hurts.
Yep.
Too close to home. All right. I had to take back I told you I had to take back my spare room today because the poor kid had to go back to doing school over Zoom and took over our spare room, which I had been using as our little podcast studio.
Yeah.
We had to duke it out. No. But
You'll pretty soon you guys will be booking the room. There'll be a sheet taped to the door, just like bookings, room bookings.
she calls it her second bedroom when she talks to her friends and stuff. I'm like, well, it's got some of your stuff in it because you had a really big bedroom in our last house, but it's a spare bedroom that people stay in that has a bed and a desk.
Yeah.
And some of your crap. I'm slowly filling it with more cryptid, spooky stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna paint that thing for our cryptid stickers that we got from my sister. Oh yeah.
Nice.
So she lived with him, Queen Margaret. She was actually well loved and managed to, quote, unite Norway, Sweden, and Denmark, and the countries flourished under the only reigning queen Norway has ever had.
Okay.
That's from the Oslo book. So yeah, that's cool. I guess not many queens, but it's cool because now there are a lot of female prime ministers in the world. I can't remember. Oh yeah, I said the prime minister was Erna Solberg, so currently a female.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. And also the female prime minister of New Zealand, I just want to say, like, was badass during coronavirus. She handled that shit like really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were like, we're closing our doors. We're an island. We're just going to keep you guys out and we're going to get this shit under control. And now they only just now have a bubble open with Australia. And that's cool. So, one time, a drunken Swedish soldier rode up alone upon the fortress and yelled that he would conquer Norway single-handedly. He was shot, but sadly, so was his horse.
Oh.
During World War II, it was surrendered peacefully to the Nazis, or the Noxema girls, as I said.
No.
It was surrendered at least without combat. I don't know. I used the word peacefully, but at least there was no combat in the surrendering. So after the end of the war, 8 Norwegian traders, quote, after the end of the war, 8 Norwegian traders were tried for war crimes and executed by firing squad in the castle as well. That's from Castles Today. I think you went on that website too. That was I like that. I like websites all about castles.
I think so, yeah.
That's my jam. They called it the slavery when it was a prison, and many people were executed and tortured here. prisoners could be rented out for work around the city. Some famous prisoners include author Jest Bardson, thief Ole Holland, and supporters of Marcus Thrain. Marcus Thrain was a Norwegian author, journalist, and the leader of the first labor movement in Norway. It was later known as the Thrain movement. So that's cool. Fighting for the little guys.
Yeah, was that like a union movement kind of thing?
Sounds like it, because labor movement was the only description I delved into for that guy.
Okay.
The other two guys were a little bit cooler. They were both thieves, and I got a little bit confused because they were both thieves, so I think some articles attributed some things to one guy that were really the other guy, if you know what I mean. But,
okay.
For most of the articles I read, this guy, Jest Bardson, is how I think it's pronounced, because his first name starts with a GJ. So I'm just going to pronounce that as a Y sound.
Yeah.
I don't know. But anyway, he was dubbed almost as the Norwegian Robin Hood. So he robbed the Norges Bank in 1885, and he was known also as the thief of the people. He was a Norwegian outlaw. Outlaw? That's not a word. He was a Norwegian outlaw, jailbreaker, nonfiction writer, songwriter, and memoirist.
So just a little bit of everything.
I know. I lifted his biography here from the Castles Today website because I was like, okay, this is the story about the guy. Like, I kept reading about Norwegian Robin Hood, and at first I kept reading it was that Ollie guy, that other prisoner. I don't know. It was a little confusing, but I think it's this guy, because if you listen to the whole thing, it'll make sense. One sec.
Okay.
Okay. So like I say, I'm calling him Jest Bardson. He's an outlaw, a writer. Okay, I'm going to start that sentence again. He was a Norwegian outlaw, jailbreaker, non-fiction writer, songwriter. What?
You said non-fission.
Fission. Gone fishing.
He
No.
was a non-fission. He didn't like the fission.
Nuclear fission.
Okay.
Speaking's hard. I got to get through this. I know you're probably getting hungry. No. Okay.
I had a snack actually before we started recording, so I'm doing all right.
I had some nuggets today.
Nice.
Oh my God. Anyway, I'll tell you after. There was a whole thing where I went looking for Arby's and took a right on St. Albert Trail, and I probably should have taken a left, because then I ended up in St. Albert, where I was like, what? I did looking for the Arby's. I'm so close to St. Albert.
Oh gosh.
Oh my God. So, Bardson wrote his memoir.
Take 4 of 1 sentence.
I know. Bardson wrote his memoir in prison. He was known as the poor man's hero because he began his criminal career by robbing the rich, while he supposedly gave part of his loot to the poor. Hence, Robin Hood title.
Okay.
He was arrested several times for theft and became legendary for his many successful escapes. After his release from prison in 1845, Bardson earned his living as a song seller and a bookseller. Among his songs is one about his fellow prisoner, Ole Holland. This was the other famous prisoner I read about, and he's also a thief, so my confusion.
Yeah.
So, Holland was a thief from the southwestern part of Norway. He was arrested and punished physically, even tortured during his time at the castle, yet he never lost hope. He escaped after 4 years and managed to stay on the run for 3 years before he was eventually rearrested and re-imprisoned at Akershus. I really don't know how to say the castle. I'm sorry. Unfortunately, after this one, he did lose hope Oh God, terrible. I didn't write that part. I was just.
He did lose hope.
I said that way too cheerily for what was happening in the sentence.
He was rearrested and he did lose hope. Hope is gone.
I'm not even done. And in fact, he committed suicide in his cell in 1848. Sorry.
God. Okay.
His legend lives on in Bardson's song. So Bardson, which literally, I think a bard is an old-fashioned name for a singer.
Yes.
So has a song about his fellow thief and prisoner. And yeah, Ole Holland, his fellow thief and prisoner, escaped. But when I first read it, I read that the Bardson guy escaped. So it was confusing, but they were both thieves. Of that, I'm absolutely sure.
So which one committed suicide? Robin Hood or the other guy?
The other guy, the Ole Holland. Yeah.
Okay.
The guy who lost hope.
He lost hope. And we're laughing and then
Had hope, then he lost it.
he had some hope and it fell out of his pocket and he committed suicide.
Oh, but it's so sad because we can all relate. We've all had.
Yeah. Not to belittle people with depression or suicidal thoughts or anything like that.
Of course not. So this is kind of a fun fact, I guess. A portion of the fortress, the Akerhus Fortress, was replicated at the Norway Pavilion at Epcot in Walt Disney World.
Oh.
Yeah, I've been there once. It's that place in Disney World. Epcot is dedicated to all the pavilions are countries. So there's a Canada pavilion, there's a Norway, there's a China, there's an Italy, I think. I remember us going around and getting different beers from all of them one night. That was basically what we did when we had some free time on our travel agent trip there. We're like, we're going to
Disneyland pub crawl.
China. Yeah. Oh, yeah, because we tried the fish and chips from the British Pavilion earlier, and they were pretty good. So we went back there for like a beer before the fireworks or whatever.
Did they have some Putin at the Canadian Pavilion? Some Putin?
I can't remember what they had for food. They definitely had the whole lumberjack looking red black plaid shirts or whatever. I think States call them buffalo plaid a lot of the time. At least they do on the podcast I listen to. Like
I've heard that, yeah.
Yeah. I know because I like it when they talk about it on And That's Why We Drink, because sorry, I always mess up their pronouns. I'm sorry. They really like Canada and they're always like buffalo plaid and like, woo, we're going to Vancouver and like I'm gonna be nature cozy, and I'm like, that's adorable. You love Canada so much for someone that's not born there.
Yeah.
Oh, they're so cute. Anyway, Canada strong. No. Okay. So there are an indigenous people called the Sami that live in northern Norway, Sweden, and Finland. Sorry. It's my understanding there was tensions between them and their fellow countrymen over things like preserving the Sami language and their heritage. I don't get all the details about this, but it does sound familiar to North America and Canada and the US and how we've, kind of decimated the indigenous culture here. And that happens all over the world, obviously, like Australia, New Zealand, tons of places.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Oh, for sure. So there was a Sami revolt called the Kautokeino Rebellion in 1852 that was squashed down. I'm drinking my white, and I opened another White Claw. I do like them. I like that they're 100 calories.
I haven't had them.
I had neither, but I'm starting to see them different places, and like, I'm really seeing a trend of like seltzer sort of coolers coming up now. And like the really sweet coolers are kind of falling by the wayside, which is awesome because like nobody wants to drink Bacardi Breezers or Smirnoff Ices anymore. Like the
I
sugar.
do. I drink Smirnoff Ice.
I just feel like I don't know. Like I grew up kind of getting drunk on those almost as a teenager, and a lot of them are like the original, especially the original Smirnoff Ices and the Bacardi Breezers. They were like so full of sugar and dye that I mean, it wasn't always the alcohol making you puke. It was all the other shit in them.
Yeah.
But now they tend to make less sugared versions of all the brands. I find like they're getting away from that. So like, yeah, I mean, if you drink them now, there's probably good versions of them because I found a lot of good coolers lately that aren't too sugary, like these ones.
That's good.
Yeah.
I'd probably like them still.
Yeah, as long as it's not like, I don't know, without flavor at all. All right. So, all right. Now my phone's starting to die again because this is how it goes. So, oh yeah, so there was a Sami revolt that Indigenous people, there was a revolt. All the male participants of this rebellion were imprisoned in the cells of Akerhus Castle. The women were imprisoned in Trondheim, so totally different city.
Oh, wow.
But all the men from that revolt were imprisoned in Akerhus Castle. They all later died there except for one man by the name of Lars Heta, who would become famous for his first translation of the Bible into the Sami language. His sentence ended up being commuted to life. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah, I think he was their leader, the Sami. The prison was put out of use by 1950. According to one website that I referenced excessively, called Werewolves, like werewolf.com, but without the L. This fortress is one of the most haunted places in all of Oslo. So,
dun dun dun. Is it ghost time?
Wait, it should be, but I feel like I'm missing a page. Here it is. Nope. Sorry, I'm sorry. It's just the way I wrote it. There are the burning women, also known as the night pyres. They appear in front of any fireplaces in the castle. They appear to look like tiny, deformed women with grinning, laughing faces and burning robes. Apparently, gross. They have prevented a number of fires in the wooded areas of the fortress over the years. They appear before the owner to warn them. So they're like, by the way, a fire is going to come. Watch the heck out so you don't lose the flammable parts of the castle, please.
Early fire warning system?
Yeah, they're a very creepy Smokey the Bear, though. I don't know why they have to be deformed women.
Smokey the Bear. Only
They're
you can prevent forest fires.
Burning little women with grinning faces.
They sound like little, not spirits like the ghost spirits, but like the fairy spirits.
Bad fairies, yeah, something like that.
I picture them being really small. That's the only way I can imagine them being on fire. I don't know why.
Yeah, one time I wrote them as baby sized because that's what one article said, baby sized. I was like, ugh.
Okay, now I'm just thinking of baby Jack from the Incredibles on fire.
Oh my god.
When he's on fire and they're just like, Jack, no!
Yeah. Jack attack! So, ghostly guards are seen often. They vanish before your eyes. People hear screams, chains clanking, whispers, and scratches. Sometimes you can hear a ghostly horse galloping, and it's believed to be the horse of that drunken Swedish soldier. If you recall from the history.
Yeah.
Like, he came up and was like, I'm going to conquer Norway.
They're like, no, you're not.
Yeah. Then there's one called the Gatekeeper.
The Gatekeeper sounds very sinister.
Yeah. I thought he was cool. It was like soldiers crossing over the main bridge would often hear a snide voice whispering to them as they crossed to the castle. It is known that to follow the voice is to walk to your death. The legend is that an old gatekeeper that worked at the castle, or that it is an old gatekeeper rather, that worked at the castle when many women disappeared at the time.
Oh, okay.
He could be a serial killer.
Yeah.
I still feel like I'm missing one of my ghosties. Okay, there's also Mantelgeisten. Mantelgeisten is the spirit of a wailing woman who once stayed in the castle, and she's often seen wandering towards the room she used to live in. She's always seen in a full-length white bedrobe.
Okay.
It's unclear who exactly she is, especially because, according to most reports anyway, she lacks a face.
Oh.
She's just basically long, dark hair. I mean, go figure. Long, creepy, dark hair. The ring
Always.
style.
They're never long, blonde, creepy hair. It's always got to be brown or black.
It's never like, she was a pixie cut blonde.
Yeah.
And she's just blank white where her face should be. Okay, here's the second big ghost. I thought I was missing him. The second one is Malkanisen, or the vicious dog. Malkanisen is a demon dog. He guards the gates of the castle and was supposedly buried alive. Trigger warning. I didn't like that part.
No.
Apparently, according to some reports in the Middle Ages, some believed that burying a live dog at the entrance to a building would provide protection, as the dog would guard the abode for eternity. That was interesting because, I mean, I have read similar things about, say, Scottish culture, because, as you know, I read Outlander. I may have mentioned it. But, like, they really do. And some of it's kind of weird. They'll be like, go outside and pee on the fence posts because that'll keep the spirits out. Like, some of it's very superstitious and just totally, like, I don't know. It's so almost barbaric. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Go pee outside, mark your territory. That'll keep the ghosts out. Like, some of it's like that. And so this burying the person, it reminded me of, there was something about having some sort of sacrifice buried under a hearthstone in a new house that was good luck in Scottish culture. So I was like, actually, I've heard of something like this. As gross and horrible, like horrified as I was.
Well, at least you're killing it beforehand. You're not burying it alive.
Yeah, I don't know why in this case they had to bury them alive. That's disgusting and horrible.
Yeah, that is what bugs me about it.
Yes, exactly.
Sacrifices and everything used to be like commonplace.
True, exactly. I actually had to read that part a couple of times because I was like, wait, buried alive? Alive?
Yeah.
Oh. Especially like, okay, the commander of the Akerhus castle buried his favorite dog alive at the Virgin Tower, which was the old entrance to the castle. His favorite doggo.
Yeah, no, that seems weird. That's the first time I've ever heard of them burying anything alive.
Yeah. Legend has it that anyone who is approached by the dog will die in the next 3 months. And soldiers stationed at the tower would report feeling the dog's breath and hearing him growl. And honestly, I think that's all I have. I believe that's the end. I think I had another paragraph, but it repeated itself. About the burning ladies, the night pyres. So yeah.
That's cool.
Yay! We did castles.
Yeah, we did.
We did. You guys have been waiting. You've been clamoring. You've been waiting with bated breath. Here it is. Eat it up, Les. You better subscribe now, baby, because we brought you the castles and we're about to bring the cryptids.
Yeah, not
Mhm.
not immediately following this one, but
No,
pretty soon.
our thing is still the alternating true crime. So
Yeah.
next time, have we given a little teaser? Because we are doing true crime next week.
I have something. Are you ready?
Yeah.
It's heist, baby.
Wait. But that's not the next true crime. The next true crime is Russian true crime.
Oh yeah.
It's
No,
hard to remember sometimes.
no. When this recording comes out, the next one is heist, baby.
Am I that confused again? Russian true crimes will be out before this?
Yeah.
Once we got past episode 5, it was like I lost all control of what episode we were recording and which one was coming out.
I have a Word document that I have typed out that I took a screenshot and sent to you.
You're so much better at like organization than me, I swear to God.
No, because I was doing
to-
one episode and I think you asked, are you ready for this week's episode? And I was like, yeah, I'm all ready. And then I was just like, yeah, because I have whatever to talk to you about. And and you said like what the topic was, and it was like, oh yeah, I'm ready. And then in my head I went, oh shit, I was doing the episode after that. And then I was like, oh my God, I have nothing. And it was like, so I got confused. So I literally had to write it out and be like, okay, I'm writing it out.
Well, you seem like the organized color personality type. Like the type, you know what I mean?
I
don't know.
am, only because I know myself too well that if I don't do that, I'm actually quite forgetful.
It's
I've,
hard.
like,
It's
Forced
weird with
myself to write
Yeah.
stuff down.
Well, with the podcast, like I know that people are always recording ahead of schedule. Like I get that from listening to podcasts, but then I'm like, oh, we tried to get so many episodes ahead, and then I was like, I'm gonna start forgetting what episode 1 was about if we're gonna release it when we're on episode 17. It's gonna be like,
Yeah. So the episode we
Yeah.
record after this is Heist, baby. That's not going to be the name of the episode. I just wanted to say that.
I like it. I'm excited for that one. I had a hard time choosing too, so
I
yeah.
Probably out of every episode topic we've chosen and case I've chosen, the most excited I have ever been.
I know, when you suggested it, I was like, oh my God, I love heists. I love a heist movie. Like, this is so fun.
Heists are like one of my favorite genres, one of my favorite things to watch. I love a really like well-written one that's like smart and doesn't show you everything along the way. I want something where you're watching and you kind of don't know exactly what's going to happen right before it happens, or they didn't lay out the whole plan. Been like, okay, here's what we're doing, guys. Let's have a 20-minute scene where we plan everything, and then the rest of the movie you get to watch it happen, and maybe something goes wrong and throws them off course, and that's the big surprise. Like, no.
Yeah, because we all love the detail of it. It's like the planning, and that's what I love about, say, I had to look up what these were called the other day, but like a Rube Goldberg machine, like they have on Wallace and Gromit, where it's like this thing connects to this thing, which makes this thing fall down, which releases this thing. Like, I think we all just love like thinking that something could be that elaborate and that, you know, we can make it happen if only we had all these things in place. It's just, it's so cool. I love all the planning that goes into it. I don't know.
Yeah, it's so cool. I like it. And my favorite will always be when they actually get away with it. I'll take that over the cops busting them any day. I want them to get away with it. They deserve it after all their hard work.
You're not giving me any hint what's happening in yours, but that just makes me intrigued. I can't wait to find out.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised that you've managed to avoid it.
I think so, mostly.
With, like, the blow up that's happening, because there is quite a big like a series that just got released about it, so everybody's talking about it and probably going to be covering it. And normally that would make me like shy away from covering it at the same time, but I did know about it like a year ago, and it even then just like blew my mind. So
Yeah, I don't think it's that well known. Even if I might have like maybe a general vague idea what it's about, that doesn't mean I know what it's about.
yeah,
So I'm
exactly.
excited. I'm excited.
Yeah.
But we should wrap it up because now my phone's really dying. Oh!
Yeah. So
I don't
tune
know.
in next week. Bye-bye.
For Heist baby.
Dun,
Ding,
dun,
ding,
dun,
ding,
dun, dun,
ding,
dun.
ding, 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 ding. Bum, bum. All right. We won't sing anymore, we promise. Bye-bye.
Bye.
This has been Castles and Cryptids. You can listen to our podcasts on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor, Breaker, and Pocket Casts. Our episodes are also uploaded to our YouTube channel. You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook. And don't forget to check out our Patreon page to view all of our tiers. Become a Patreon supporter today to unlock monthly bonus episodes and behind-the-scenes content. You can also take our poll and let us know what kind of bonus content you'd like to see in the future. On our website, you can listen to all of our episodes, as well as view pictures for each of our segments. Our music is by Kobe Off Air. Thanks for listening.